Okay, so we continue with Kuf Nun Dalet in Daas Tevunos 154. So let's just so last time I was a lot confused, and I'm still a lot confused about what he said because it didn't seem like he added so much new, right? He spoke a lot, you know. Usually he's kind of he's kind of limited with his words, even though sometimes it seems like he's got very like philosophical and long constructions, but all in all, they seem to be very on point. Last time he spoke a lot of words, but they didn't seem to be contributing to anything new. That was our issue. Besides some of the things that we did not understand, right? But and I still don't have anything more to add. But let's just we left off
I'm sorry. Are you're in that presenter mode? Because I don't see it jumping.
jumping around.
Right.
Okay, let me double check. What mode am I on? My view is speaker mode. Yes. Yes, speaker
Okay.
mode. I think it's because there's only two of us here this time.
Okay.
That's why it's not jumping around. So,
Okay.
you see, what do you see? You
I
see
see you and
yourself,
me.
or mostly
I
me?
see everybody. Both.
Well, it depends. I guess that's your mode.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Okay. Okay, so back to my mode. Okay, so he left off the last piece that we saw. There were three different hashpos. There was hashpo ruchni, right, which basically overpowers the gashmi. There was hashpo gashmi, and then there was the hashpo shlishis, which is able to introduce ruchnius into the gashmis, right? That's that's what he said. So that good. That's fine. So that's how we see. We see that within the Gashmias, there is the ability of Ruchnias to come through. Okay, fine. Um, Fine. And then he left off with saying that even though that was the original plan, but then we descended after the sin of Adam and Rishon, we descended into a lower state. But still, as he said before, the nature of Ra is such that it picks off the bottom of each level, right? And the more you push it down, the more you elevate the ruchnias. The more you push down the evil, right? The more ruchnias is elevated, and so when we will purify our lower state, we will be elevated to the earlier level of ruchnias. Okay, fine. Omer Aseichel. So now we're up to 154. Omer Aseichel. Ata noshuv li'inyan hamishpat va'ahava shezacharchanu l'mayla. Now we have to go back to the mishpat, to justice and love that we mentioned above. So where did he mention love? So he mentioned love in the very beginning. One second, let me see.
Says here the 6,000 years of history.
No, not that far back. Not that far back. A second. Where did I lose it? Start a second one. Maybe it is that far back. Sorry. Hmm. Sorry. Yeah, it is that far back. Okay. It goes back to 137, I think.
Wow.
138. Right? In 138, he told us there are two foundational ideas, two foundations, but there are really three. Okay, meaning from different perspectives, I guess maybe you could say that when Hashem acts towards us, right? So we got to study it from his perspective, from the perspective of his actions. That's what he
Hmm.
said. V'asheni kol mashatolu beis pilus, and then from the perspective of the way it affects us. Okay, so it's from his perspective, the way he acts upon us,
Hmm.
and from our perspective, the way it is, the way we respond to it. But then he said that the way Hashem acts towards us also has two aspects. Meaning, in other words, Hashem acts towards us with love, and that love has two aspects. One aspect is that even when Hashem uses judgment, he uses it in a way, in a loving way, and not in a cruel way. And the second way, that sometimes the love overpowers the judgment altogether. Right? So that was in 138. Okay? Now he's coming to elaborate on that idea.
Hmm.
Okay? So that's what he's saying, that na'ata noshuv li'inyan mishpat va'ahava shezacharnu l'mayla. Now we're going to go back to that point. Okay? Kikvar shamat, you already heard, sheshnei inyonim heim, that there are two things, sheyesh ma sheyesh lonu lahavin v'masav izborach, that we have to understand in the way in Hashem's actions. Umischabrim zeh b'zeh, and they are interconnected with one another. V'hainu, inyan midos hahanhoga, that is the idea of the midos of Hashem's providence. Yeah, midos, the attributes of Hashem's providence.
Hmm.
The inyan mehus hanehugim umatzivehem, and also the mahus, the essence of hanehugim means, so I mean it should mean of those that are being guided by him. How do they translate in your version?
The attributes of Anhaga and nature of being of created beings and their circumstances.
Okay, that makes sense. That's not. I have a different translation over here, which to me doesn't make sense. The translation over here. Oh no, no, maybe I miss. I miss. I'm sorry. I miss. Okay, and the essence and conditions of those subject to its guidance. Yeah, that makes sense also. Okay, and the essence and conditions of those subject to its guidance. That's hanehugim, the subjects. Okay, okay, and these are interrelated with one another, as it was explained above. I'm not sure what he means.
Mm.
When did he explain this above? I don't know. Do you have a
That
note?
here the same part 4 of this chapter. So at some point,
Part four.
yeah, which is starts, hold on a second. with 132.
Okay. I mean, that's so, you know, it's not very helpful. Okay. I don't
Fica
remember
talvez agora.
it
Hum,
explaining this idea of conjoining
ok.
this with one
É.
another. I don't know what he means. Unless he's again is going okay. Let's see. V'nashlim inyan hanhoga. Let's complete the concept of providence. Shekvar shamat, as you already heard, eich hamusar atzmoi noilad min ha'ahava. How the Hashem's discipline also stems from love. Kinyan HaKosov Shezacharna Lamaila, like the pasuk we said above, Oy Havov Shicharoi Musar, right? And he who loves him, right? Oy Havov, and he who loves him, Shicharoi Musar, he visits him, he comes with him with discipline.
Hum,
Ki ha'ava oivas b'noi, because a father that loves his son, lo yachbas she'ismal le'abein midos rois, he's not going to want that his son should be full of bad midos. Aval me'ahavoso so isader l'atzmai seda and hoga, but from the perspective of the love for his son, right? Because he loves his son, he will organize for himself a way to act towards his son. So he should act towards him with great counsel,
hum,
until he can correct his ways. And then from then on,
hum,
yoyled chacham v'yismach boy. Then he will have begotten a wise son, and he will be happy with him. So so if the father is able to achieve a state, bring his son towards a desired state that he appreciates him, so the relationship is improved. And then he is like a father who is appeased and appreciative of his son. And the son is trying to find favors with his father and to do his will. Right? So they have a beautiful relationship. V'nimtza, so what comes out? So clearly from that love stems the the his behavior of showering him with love when the son is doing something good.
hum,
Give him good reward. But from the very same love, that he wants in his goodness, also not in his evil. He's going to want to discipline him, consequence him if his actions deteriorate. And from that same very love, sometimes he will want to go with him in some middle path. Smoil doiche, v'yamin mekareves. With his left hand, he pushes off, and with his right hand, he brings close. Okay? So there are three
mhm.
approaches
Yep.
to parenting, he says over here. One is chesed, right? With reward and love when he gets, right? One is discipline, and the other one is in between. Now, the between, he calls it, you chastise with the left, and you bring close with the right.
Hum,
You push away with the left, and you bring close with the right.
hum.
So I'm not sure what this middle layer is.
Can you really have one and two by itself? Do you really need to be picking one of these three? Like I don't see one working out
No,
very well. I don't see two by itself working out very well.
right. So I'm just saying one and two together, meaning I'm trying to understand what makes three a separate standalone mida
Mhm.
versus
Then,
just a mix of one and two,
mhm.
right? Meaning when the kid does something wrong, I discipline him. When the kid does something right, I reward him.
I think maybe that here's the reward and is not full on, and the discipline is not full on.
But what does that
What
mean?
is,
I don't
I
understand
mean,
what that means. Meaning,
don't shower him with gifts every time he does something good. Reserve, yeah, okay. You know, I'm going to give you a humble gift when you get an A at the end of the year. Not every time you bring B plus.
uh, and doesn't you're limit. See, it's interesting. You're limiting the tzad hachesed,
Or the
right?
other way around. That
He
just makes
seems to
sense.
be limiting the tzad ha-discipline because he says smoil doicha, the left
Yeah,
hand
yeah.
pushes away, and the right hand, right?
Draws near.
So just the opposite. He's saying he deserves a punishment. I'm gonna come and I'm going to
Make it easier.
right, right. He deserves a serious punishment, but I'm gonna make him like you know,
All right. So it's a little skewed to the right. I mean that's how we mostly are as parents, no?
right. So a soft discipline. Again, I'm not getting it. Why am I not getting it? Because meaning let's begin with the end in mind, right? Meaning he told us that the reason why we are disciplining the child here is because we want him to be good. It's for his sake, right? It's not for our sake, it's for his
Mm-hmm.
sake. So the question is, what's the best way to get him there? So if he needs a harsh punishment, so let's give him a harsh punishment because that's going to be the way to make sure that he doesn't do this thing again. So what is this third midah? Again, I mean, we know what it is. We know we've talked. We're not new to this, obviously.
Right.
I'm just trying to really define, really define it well. Okay, um, but let's see a little more. Okay, so what he's telling us, Hareshim imikor ha'ahava atzma. So what comes out is from the source of love itself. Noiviim, they're shoot out. Are brought out shloishas midois hamusar, three types of musar. The hainu, which is a chesed, hadin, v'arachamim, hamimutzoyim. The
Mhm.
chesed, kindness, hadin, justice, and rachamim in the middle. Umitoldois ha'ahava liyois hamusar afilu bizman nasa, and from the source of ahava, even from when the discipline is done, mimutok is soft, v'loy be'agzorias chema v'shetaf af, and it's not with a cruel anger and a
Mm.
flood of anger, wrath.
Right. Okay.
So again, so I'm not sure what he's so there is a the discipline is softer again. So when he's talking about now that the discipline is softer, is he describing rachamim? Is he elaborating on rachamim now, or he's telling me an additional thing that even in the discipline, that discipline is still softer.
I think it's the additional thing. It's when the discipline is discipline, it's still soft because there's a component
Right. So
of drawing him back.
fine. So then you're going to tell me that. So then rachamim, which is left, pushes in, and the right brings close. Then
Hmm.
is something else. You're telling me that the discipline, even when it's harsh, it's not really so harsh.
Right. It's loved down, watered down,
It's
love.
not harsh.
Right.
Again, I don't understand. Meaning, because it's for the sake of the kid. I guess that's what it means.
Yeah. I mean,
There
let's
is no
say that
reason. Meaning, cruelty.
he's not gonna make a
Okay,
kid go right. And the same thing with Rahman. Like you're not gonna shower him with gifts. Well, let me take you. I started giving you a toy. I'm gonna get you a bag full of toys. Let me take you to Super Bowl. I'm gonna sit you in the prime seat. because we got, A in algebra.
I mean, I hear your logic. Makes sense because it's not
I'll
going to be
give
for
you a
his
Casio
benefit,
watch. I don't know.
right? It's not going to be for his benefits. It's
Right.
spoiling a
Exactly.
kid is not for his
Yeah, yeah,
benefit.
yeah, yeah. Exactly.
But
So
that's I don't
what are
see
you
it here
achieving?
in the text. I just don't see it in the text. You're right that you might be right, but that's not. He's not focusing on that. He never.
Right, but no, he was so you give the very first aspect, the great affection and reward for when the child behaves. That's the great affection. If I'm able to do anything, like I'm limitless. I can change the world. I can give you any gift that is possible. And I'm so full of love, and so I'm so amazed. Why wouldn't I just unleash pure love and make your
Right. So
life
that's what I'm saying. So
glorious?
who says he doesn't? Where do you see in any place in this text that says that he doesn't?
Somehow we still, yeah, I guess.
I mean, we're assuming, I mean, logically,
Right.
since it's all for the benefit of the kid, so then the reward should also be limited because if that reward is not limited, the kid's going to get spoiled. And then the thing that you're accomplishing, I mean, so it makes sense, but that's okay. But let's see. Maybe, okay. So all he's telling you right now is that the discipline is limited. Okay. And then it says, and on top of that, it takes a long time for that anger to be triggered, and it takes in a short time for that anger to subside. Right? So basically,
Mm-hmm.
there are um, the Ahava has so far has five expressions. The source of this Ahava has five expressions. The Chesed, okay, the discipline, which is for the sake of the child, the Rachamim, which is some sort of a different middle ground action um, conduct, then the limitation of the discipline even within the discipline, and then the 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 additional patience,
Mm-hmm.
the additional patience. So those are the five different aspects of this ahava. And then he says, and from that very same love, it's also the result of that very same love, and from its action, that sometimes Hashem completely overrides his anger, so to speak, his midah of judgment. To do a total act of charity. She'ein mashgichin b'kaf maznayin kol ikar does not address the scale altogether. Ela kechofetz chesed mar b'lehetiv. But like somebody who desires kindness, he just showers goodness. Okay, so that's a
Mm-hmm.
sixth expression of this
Overlooking.
of this love,
Mm-hmm.
of Hashem's love for His creations. Right? Okay. So again, I don't know these things. I don't understand this thing. Is this related to? I mean, this is Kabbalistic stuff, and even though, again, on first glance, it sounds like okay, I know I've heard of Chesed, and I've heard of Din, and I've heard of Rachamim, and I've heard of sweetness of Din, and I've heard of
Right.
Hashem being Noach Lirtzois and Koshelikois, right? And Ramchal already told us this overriding of right. We heard these things, but at the same time, these are very, very difficult aspects in terms of putting them in their proper place within Hashem's master plan. Okay? So we also hear things that Rashi told us from the beginning. Rashi told us, Mitchila, Kosh Baruch Hu wanted to create the world b'midas hadin,
Mm-hmm.
and then he connected it with midas harachamim, right? That's Rashi. Rashi points that out on the fact that the first description of creation is with the name Elokim, and the second description of creation is with the name Hashem Elokim. right? So, but at the same time, we have a principle called Olam Chesed Yibona. In other words, that the creation of the world is founded on Chesed, right? So again, so
Mm-hmm.
Rashi starts on in the beginning, Hashem wanted to create the world Midas Hadin, right? So it sounds like what came first?
Then,
Midas Hadin came first, right?
mm-hmm. How is it
But
built with
but
Hesed?
then there is a concept of Olam Chesed Yibon because the entire creation was an act of Chesed. Now, so the truth is, with this Ramchal, it's a little better because
Mm-hmm.
Ramchal is telling us that even Midas Hadin, right, is an expression of love, right? So there is the foundational principle is Olam Chesed Yibon, that everything Hashem does, He does for the sake of the creations, out of His goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Olam Chesed Yibon, right? That's His Chesed, right? But then He thought that the best way to do Chesed to the creations is to create the world of Midas Hadin. You know, if you earn it, you're going to earn mamish, right? You're going to earn it, right? And he says, no, they can't do it with midas chedin, real pure midas chedin, even though it's for their benefit. I'm going to be tough on them so that they will grow up to be really good, and then I can really bless them with all the wonderful rewards. And he says, no, can't do it. Got to bring in the third midah, which is midas harachamim, of this in between. Again,
Mm-hmm.
whatever this in between is, I don't necessarily fully get it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily fully get it. Exactly what meaning? Only because we take it for granted, this word rachamim, but it appears in different sources with different descriptions. So, okay, but let's continue. Let's move on. Nimtza. So what comes out is shekasher navchin peulas ahava azois. Once we analyze this act of love, nimtza sheshnei dvorim yesh b'chuka. What comes out that there's two aspects, two things are in its nature. Harishin ahavas hachesed. One is the love of kindness, v'achefetz bevrocha, and the desire of blessing, v'toiva, and goodness, shezeh ikar inyana, which is its main quality. But that main quality of chesed and goodness splits in two directions. But one direction goes to sweeten the judgment, and the discipline. Even when it's conducted, so that the fire of Hashem's wrath should not get stirred up, and then the world would not be destroyed by it. And the second principle, to completely remove the judgment if the world needs it such. Right? In other words, if the world cannot sustain discipline, so we remove discipline altogether. Okay, so that's the second. So I lost a little bit of the train of thought, meaning before in the paragraph before we
Mm-hmm.
identified six
6.
expressions of this love, right? And now he's coming and he boils those six down to two, which he mentioned before in that one in 138,
Uh-huh.
right? So he boils them down to two that he mentioned before. You know, these both of these two are the ones that deal with mitigating justice, right? Either mitigating it or removing it altogether, but it's counteracting the justice. He doesn't talk about, hey, the main thing of love is give the guy reward, give the guy blessings. So he's only focusing on the mitigating justice factors, not the ikr factor, which is blessing and goodness. Okay. This is something that we already brought many times. Hashem says, and I will be gracious to the one whoever I find favor. I will give favor to the one who I find favor. Even if he's not worthy. And that's described by the 13 midas shel rachamim she'enam choizros rekom, that never go back empty-handed. Okay, now he lost me again.
Yeah.
Why did he lose me again? Because, again,
They're never gonna go unanswered, right?
because we're talking about rachamim. There were 6 expressions. Chesed, din, rachamim. Then, sweetness of the din, which we understood that is a separate expression that has nothing, or at least we thought, that has nothing to do with rachamim.
Yep.
Right? That's why I asked you then, right? Is it part
Mm-hmm.
of rachamim, or is this a new aspect? So we thought, like I thought, that it's a new aspect, a new expression of this thing. But now he's telling me, no, there's something Yud Gimel Midas Rachamim, right? And then that they're not removed Rekom. What does that mean? They're not removed Rekom. That's from this aspect of Hashem overriding the discipline.
Right. Means there's a component of rachamim everywhere built in.
So again, if you were to ask me, out of the 3 Chesed and Rachamim, which of these 3 are responsible for overriding justice altogether, I would have said Chesed, not Rachamim. Because as he said himself, the nature of Rachamim as such is Smoil Doicha, Yemin Mekareves. With the left hand you push off, and with the right hand you bring close. Right? So the left hand is still there. Now he's talking about a situation where the left hand is totally pulled back and it's pure right hand, because you're overriding the principle of justice altogether. And yet this is still called Yud Gimel Midas Shel Rachamim.
So how is it not Chesed? Why is it not Yud Gimel Midas?
Right? I would have said Chesed.
Yeah.
And the simple reading of the verse tells us, Vayavar Hashem al panav. Hashem passes over, goes over his face. In other words, the Hainu Ponim Shalzam, where his face over here is referring to the faces of anger. My faces will go. Elu Ponim Shalzam, these are the faces of anger. Right? So we see that in the introduction to Yud Gimel Midas, we say, Vayavar Hashem al Ponav, right? He kind of overcomes himself. Right? He overcomes himself. In other words, he overcomes his discipline, right? The need for discipline, and overrides it and acts with pure, I would say, chesed, but they're called Yud Gimel Midas Shel Rachamim.
Why is it Shel Rachamim then?
I'm not exactly sure.
So it all comes down to what's the defining difference between Hesed and Rachamim, right? You need Rachamim only when the judgment is present, all right? No, otherwise, if there's no judgment, what's the to Rachamim about? And you can just do Hesed.
Right. Correct. That's what I would say, that the differentiating factor between midas harachamim and midas
Hmm.
hachesed is the presence of some sort of din,
Right.
right? In other words, by din doesn't necessarily mean discipline and punishment,
Hmm.
but an aspect of demand.
Yeah.
And by demand, once again, since he told us in the beginning that the nature of the demand is not because I'm demanding, but rather because I have I want the benefit of the child. I want to have expectations. I have not expectations, but I have something where I want to bring the child toward for his benefit, right? So as a result of that desire to bring the child towards some goodness, so I have some demands in place. What he's telling us, so it's not chesed. Chesed is when the child is good, give him goodness.
Hmm.
Rachamim is is it has both aspects to it: the demanding aspects of bringing the child towards goodness, and the rewarding aspect of giving reward when the goodness is achieved. So that's why the word rachamim, right? We translate usually rachamim as mercy.
Hmm.
Okay, it's not chesed as kindness, but rather it's mercy, which represents, again, it's not a mercy. Mercy is not good. Compassion.
Hmm.
Compassion. So
Right.
compassion is a certain over overwhelming emotion, right? Let's say that the father has for his child, so that right. So I don't know how to say it, but the very love, I'm not sure how to say this, but the very sense of compassion,
Hmm.
which in itself holds the discipline, you know,
Yeah.
not holds, but incorporates discipline into it, right? The very act of compassion, which incorporates discipline into it, has at moments, times when the compassion is overwhelming to such a degree that the discipline is overridden.
Yes.
So that's the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim.
Hmm.
That's what he was saying, and I think I'm starting to understand, right? Is that this that he was saying that the love has two directions.
Okay.
That love of two directions in certain, it really is brought out in the rachamim more so than there's the chesed. The chesed is the love when things are good, right? And din is referring to the pure aspect of carrying out discipline. But the ikar of it really is the rachamim, which is the an compassion that a father has for the child, that wants to bring the child towards that goodness, which incorporates
Hmm.
still discipline into that equation. But from that very love, sometimes the compassion completely overwhelms the system and takes away the judgment.
And is that the middle ground, the third approach?
Right. I think it's the third approach, again, in that sense, that it's goal oriented. It's goal oriented, meaning I don't say a goal oriented. It's recipient oriented.
Hmm.
It's recipient oriented, but it stems from my love, but it's recipient oriented.
Right. It's got custom made towards a situation or custom tailored.
Right.
Whereas Chesed
But that's the
is
thing. Within that custom tailored, because that custom tailoring originates from this flood
love.
of love, so sometimes that flood of love
Mm-hmm.
overwhelms the system, and
Mm-hmm.
you know and removes all out like discipline aspects. So that Yud Gimel Midas Shel Rachamim is the second. It is the second expression of Rachamim. So if I were to go back, then I would say that all there are only three expressions of love: Chesed, Din, and Rachamim. And those additional ones, I would say mostly that they are all expressions of Rachamim.
Well, I'll say it again. So the last part.
So the six that we mentioned,
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
actually, I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure. We mentioned six.
Yeah.
So it's not, is it coincidence? The three that we understand, Chesed, Din, and Rachamim,
Mm-hmm.
but then there are three additional ones. So are these three additional ones, it's not exact coincidentally that it's precisely
Three,
three
three. Yeah.
additional ones. They are kind of overlapping with Chesed and Rachamim, right? So the three additional ones are the sweetness of the din,
Mm-hmm.
right? The patience of the din, and the overriding of the din. The
Mm-hmm.
sweetness of the din,
Yeah.
the
The
patience of the din,
patient within.
and the overriding of the din.
Right. So writing would be the chesed.
No, the overriding would be the rachamim,
Right.
because it's
Okay.
called, again, like we see, it's called Yud Gimel Midas HaRachamim.
Mm-hmm.
The sweetness of the din
Is the chesed.
is the chesed,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the patience of the din is actually the reservation of the din. I'm holding back the
Mm-hmm.
din.
Mm-hmm.
Kosher likois. That's the
Yeah.
din of the din, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Right. Right. Right.
The I'm disciplined. My din is also disciplined. My
Yeah.
discipline is also disciplined. I'm holding it back from firing.
From full on tin.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Let's continue. I'm still get it. Okay, let's continue. Uh so Havchona Hashniya. So this second discriminating element, asher nafchin, that we and discriminate b'choy ha'ava hi shemimena atzma nevei hamishpat b'chol sudor v'klolim shehem. That from this very love emanates the justice system in all of its principles. Hachesed, din v'arachamim, the chesed, din, and rachamim, v'haprotiyim shehema mashlimim inyan eila hasholosh zacharnu, and the details that complete the three that we just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think our theory is right.
Yeah.
These details that complete the three that we mentioned are the three that the second tier three.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the decree for the midah of love one second. The decree in the midah of love, it gives space, gives place for this midah. Which midah? The midah of judge mishpat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. The mishpat is brought about by ahava. And it in its nature is the ability to met out justice. Amnam im loy hoysa bo hagzeira gamkein lehoitz lepoil midas hamishpat hazeh hine lemochrach sheimotze klal. If not for the fact that Hashem decreed to bring out this midah of mishpat,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't have to exist. Kikvar ein echrech latzoy isborach ela hakol rotzin poshut. There's nothing demanding it. It's pure arbitrary will. It's only when Hashem decreed that the mishpat should come out from potential to actuality, that's when it comes out. I'm not sure what he wants to do with this paragraph.
Mm, yeah.
I don't understand why he would say what he's trying to say, that the justice is not compulsory,
Mm,
right? That's what is that what they say in your version?
this attribute is only able to come into actual existence as a result of God's decree that it should emerge from the attribute of love. The potential to produce this attribute is an intrinsic part of the attribute of love, as we described. Nevertheless, had there not also been a decree to bring it into actual existence, it would not have needed to emerge at all.
So I'm not
Isn't
sure
it?
what that means, because he just beautifully explained to us that the whole idea why this attribute of justice arises from love is because
Mhm,
it brings the child, or us in this case,
mhm,
right,
mhm.
to a better state. So then it is compulsory, meaning if I want,
Yeah,
if the child never experiences consequences, he will not learn to be better. So how
but
can
then he
this
says,
justice not exist? And why does it matter? Why does it matter for him whether it has to be or it doesn't have to be?
I
Let's see
mean,
the next.
he created this world with an opportunity for the child to go their own way, he kind of
Right. So that's the
willed it to
question.
be,
It
right?
has
He
to be
will,
so.
right?
So
He
so I'm not sure
decreed.
what he's trying to say, that this attribute of justice is only due to Hashem's decree. I mean, everything that Hashem brought into it, and so is Ahava, is also only due to
Mhm,
Hashem's decree. So what I'm not sure what he's adding over here with this decree as
mhm,
opposed to a logical progression.
mhm,
V'teidi, and you should know, shekol dover v'dover yesh sdorim v'tanoim protim u'miyuchodim la'ashlim, that for each and everything there are organizing principles and conditions, tanoim, right? Conditions, specific
mhm,
conditions that are necessary to bring it to completion, to its completion.
mhm,
Perush, meaning yesh midas ahava ustareha mashlim yoma. There is a midah of love and its organizing principles that are necessary to bring it to completion. Yesh midas hamishpat. There is a
mhm,
midah of mishpat ustareha and its organizing principles hamashlim yoma kamakein that also bring it to completion. Likewise. Okay. V'amnam gam dover zeh sheyetzeh mishpat lepoil min ha'ahava. However, this thing too, that mishpat, justice, should be brought about in actuality from the source of love, gam loy yiyus dorim mashlim minyonu. That too comes with its own organizing principles that make sure that this is so. Perush hamashlim
mhm,
mayitzia zois, that complete this bringing about.
mhm,
Because God's wisdom precedes, I don't know, drills down to its very minutia, to the degree of the hair's breadth. And somebody who understands all of these details is praiseworthy.
mhm.
Even though these details are impossible to fully comprehend because there's too many of them, but the general principles we need to recognize. So I'm not yet. It is another one of these situations where he specifically points out that a certain human understanding is
Mhm.
is important, is valuable here, right? This is the third time that I could recall. Um, why is that important? I mean, why of all the things,
Otherwise, you will want,
you
right? You
know,
want to learn the lesson. That's the primary reason for this.
doesn't sound to me like. It sounds to me like this is where Hashem's wisdom is manifests itself in such a way that our learning of it will open our mind to the way Hashem is running the world.
Hmm.
And so, and specifically, again, he didn't mention it in the aspects of love and its orders and all the conditions, and he didn't mention the aspects of justice and its orders and those conditions. He specifically mentions it in the way that the judgment originates from the love. Right? Again, אמנם גם דובר זה שיצא המשפט לפועל מן האהבה, this aspect that mishpat is brought about from ahava, גם לא יהיו סתורים ומשלימים עניונה, they're also organizing principles that bring this to completion. Perush, meaning hamashlimim hayitzia hazois, that complete this bringing about. Because the wisdom
Hmm.
goes on to drill down until the hair breadths.
Hmm.
Meaning it's possible again, I'm not sure. This is sounds like
Hmm.
very profound stuff, is what he's saying over here. But basically, right, all wisdom, in a certain sense, is ability to recognize something for what it really is.
Hmm.
Meaning, on face value, it looks like this, but when you look deeper, it actually means something else, right? In other words, there's a lot of signals coming our way, right? And some of the
Hmm.
signal is noise, and some of the signal is actually
Good stuff.
revealing of the underlying truth, right? And the nature of wisdom is such that we need to recognize what is actually a signal and what's actually a noise, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
we see discipline, we see discipline, we see harsh reality. So face value tells us that this is a signal for some strong justice. The wisdom is to appreciate that this justice is not really justice, it's really love. That's what he's saying. I think he's
Hmm.
saying, and that comes out as you drill down different aspects of that, every aspect of that experience.
Hmm.
This part is justice, but this part is love. This part, and so that's where the wisdom begins to express itself, right? In as much as you can appreciate what's the underlying principle of this thing. I think that's what he's trying to say.
Yeah, that's profound stuff indeed.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What's our time situation here?
Hmm.
Um, okay. Um,
So 11:05.
yeah. I'm just looking to see how far. This is all one piece, right?
Yeah.
This is all one piece. So there's no way we're going to finish this all one piece. Um, Okay, so maybe I guess we'll just stop. I think we'll call it a day with this. We're in the middle of something, so
Mhm.
which means that everything we'll say until now could be modified next time.
Yeah.
Okay? All right. Okay.
Score.